Seth.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like that's the way they're going. But now I'm seeing that. I kind of want them to go in a different direction again. I kind of feel like, well, no, I want them to be surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a big market at one point for Drew McIntyre. He was, sort of almost penciled in as the guy. That seems to have gone down now. I'm wondering if he's on the verge of it, but just not in that big role. But I don't know. It will be interesting if they just did go for Drew and do it that way. But speaking of Drew, Matt, we do have now a couple of questions here on WWE, and of course, our most famous listener, of course, of the show, Jimbo Wrestler Squad number 9. He's got an interesting theory, Matt, that might tweak your mind. I don't know, but he says, "Hi guys, hope you're both okay. My predictions now is AJ Styles will win back the title and set up a build for AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. He thinks Rollins is going to win the Rumble and he's going to choose to face AJ Styles. Also, at Mania, Brock Lesnar, he's going to beat Braun, and Brock will face Drew at WrestleMania. Drew will get this in the pay-per-view at Fastlane. That is my predictions. What do you think there then, Matt? Because you can't snigger as much anymore, because Jimbo did get that whole Daniel Bryan turning heel thing, which I thought would be impossible to do. I've got to be honest with you, I was laughing at that because I thought, if there's anyone you can't turn heel with Daniel Bryan, but they did do that. What do you think to that, Matt? Is there any sort of, is that something you could see them doing, a Seth AJ match?
Oh, it's really difficult. That would be an incredible match, and I think that would be a brilliant swerve by WWE if they did that, because no one, apart from what we just heard, not many people are expecting that to happen.
Yeah.
So I feel like that would be a nice surprise, and especially if they said they're going to shake things up. Swapping someone over to a different show like that is a good way to do that. So I'd be all up for that. But then the only other side to that is, like, now, I keep coming back to it, but it's such a big loss not having Roman part of these stories. It's kind of, we knew where they were going with that, and that was, like, even though people were sick of it, we knew the direction that WWE was travelling in. But now it's sort of like, we're down a man, and we don't know quite what the direction is. Is Seth the next guy? I mean, this could be the start of that. Maybe he goes to WrestleMania, and maybe he beats Brock. Maybe that's the answer, I don't know. But that, I would be thinking that's the path they would go down for now. Maybe not decide whether Seth is the man now. Maybe it's decide on the night. Maybe not tell him until he gets to the ring, But I'd say go down that route and then probably decide closer to the time.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, Drew McIntyre is an amazing talent. I mean, his in-ring stuff is great. And he's got a good character going at the minute. And I don't know, for some reason, I like the look of the match between Drew and Brock more than I do Seth and Brock. I don't know why. Maybe, again, it's because I've seen it a few times. I've seen different variations of it, and I just want something new. And, I think it's one of those cases as well, Matt, with Seth, where I have to be careful, because you know as well as I do, Matt, as fans, once they get a sniff that you've selected your guy and it's Seth, that's the moment they start turning on them. So I kind of feel like, maybe they have to be really careful with this and don't play him up to the fans too much, because as soon as he starts saying how great the fans are and changing his character too much, that's when the fans just start to reject it. And then they know that, they want, they being the guys in the back, want this guy to get over as their new guy. And it doesn't always work. Whereas I think someone like Drew, because he's new, he's kind of playing a heel as it is. And I've always said this, change him, do it in the match with Brock would be perfect. I mean, you could just have him coming out as this sort of guy who's managed to beat Brock. And then over time, you can kind of have him as a baby face. I mean, it will just come natural. Because anytime you've got a badass guy anyway, a bit like Brock, he's going to get his fans because people kind of gravitate towards that. So I just think, it's incredible. We've got Drew now. We've got him back. We never thought we was going to get him back. He looks legit. He looks the part. I mean, you can't say he isn't what Vince McMahon ideally looks for in a guy, Matt. I mean, he's got the build. We know he can go in the ring, and he looks like a star. I just think, there's a lot of good stuff with this if they do it right. But, I might be sort of fantasizing too much there, and that's not going to happen. So, I've got to be careful because my expectations will then go through the roof. So, but that is definitely something I think they should look at. I hope if Drew doesn't get a title match, that he gets a big match at WrestleMania. And, I wouldn't even mind, if it is John Cena, something, I guess. Okay, another question then, just to finish us up with the WWE. Luton Linkman, interesting name, emails us in. After watching Raw, I'm still not sold that this is a fresh start. It seems just the same. My question is, why do you think WWE stopped pushing Elias? And then he's put Walk with Elias underneath. So obviously an Elias fan here. You say stop pushing. I don't know really if he was that pushed. I don't know. Was there a time, Matt, where you felt WWE were doing that with him? Because all I've seen him do is this stuff with Bobby Lashley for the last God knows how long. I mean, it's been going on since we were going there, Matt, for a while. It's only just moved on. So, it seemed like it was going through SummerSlam. I mean, yeah, it's been a long time. What do you think, Matt? Did they ever? Did you feel like they were going to go with him at one point, or was it never really there?
I feel like they were having a slow build, but it was a really slow build. I mean, he was picking up wins more and more frequently, and I think that the face turn, people were starting to like him even more. I mean, that's where people do a good job of picking up the fans as a heel, isn't it? Yeah. They're more cool, a lot of people would think. So it's cool to actually like the guy. But then when his turn was quite sudden, so the fans are still quite behind him. But for me, this week on Raw, it just sort of died. I mean, he lost to a guy who's pretty much been blamed for every negative thing going on in the company right
I don't
now.
like that.
I mean, that's not a good image.
No. Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where they go with after this, because literally they have got basically, less than a month to get all this sorted out. And you think about Elias, if he isn't the guy, or he was never pushed in the first place, I mean, you wonder what is left for him. I can only imagine in the Royal Rumble that we're going to get something like, I don't know, like him kind of just coming out with a guitar and, I don't know, just doing something really random during the match, like a honky tonk man moment with a guitar, instead of actually being in the Rumble match itself. But the answer to that question is a bit like Matt. I just kind of feel like it was too sudden. Not as sudden, I will say this much, Matt, as sudden as it was with Braun Strowman when he turned the heel and then went, and then come back as a baby face automatically really quick. That was ridiculous. But it was still sudden. It didn't seem like it was a natural progression with Elias. But yeah, he's definitely a popular guy. I think he probably does need a little bit more experience in the ring, but he's not far off it. I mean, he's easily got the look of a good, special big name performer. There's no doubt about it. He's got star power, but maybe they're just hanging back on him a little while. You don't want to push people too soon, but at the same time you don't want to have him get disinteresting as well over the time. So I'm just not sure he was ever really that positioned as the guy. Although he did have some amazing odds for the Royal Rumble at one time, so he was favourite. So I think that goes to show you his momentum was there, that's for sure. Matt, now to sort of finish up what we're talking about here, we're obviously now moving on to the newest guys to throw their hat into the world of professional wrestling now. All Elite Wrestling, Matt. it's been the talk of the town for the last few weeks, hasn't it? Sort of building up to this announcement, and obviously a lot of the guys were sort of running their contracts down, and now it's all sort of become somewhat official here, Matt. Obviously, we hear of new promotions starting all the time, and you don't really think too much about it because, let's face it, WWE, they've cornered the world market of professional wrestling in many ways with everything. So you are playing such a big catch up, and realistically, Matt, at least in the US soil, the last real I don't even think they even really got close, but the last real attack on it was from TNA back in the day of when they got on Spike, and they managed to get a good over 1.6 million, in fact, which is a very decent rating considering where Raw was at recently, Matt. But that's where they were, but they couldn't sustain it, and look where TNA are now. It's incredible. But another promotion comes along, and we're hearing it's obviously run by Cody, and it's going to have some huge backing here from the Khan family, who of course they're already involved within sports teams over in the UK. They own a football club, Fulham, and in fact it wasn't that long ago he was interested in buying Wembley as Fulham's stadium, and he was going to sort of put other things in there and sort of do it all up. And of course, they also own the American football club, the Jaguars. So they're definitely there. They're net worth of around 9 billion, Matt. They're certainly not short of a few quid. So obviously they've got the money, the clout of the money here. But is it a serious thing for you, Matt, or is this sort of wait and see at the moment from your perspective? Obviously today we saw a rally go up, a few names mentioned. Let me just read you through them actually before we continue on, just in case anybody doesn't know. But there was a rally today, and they did announce some names. Obviously now Cody Rhodes, Executive Vice President. You've obviously got the Young Bucks, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, Executive Vice Presidents. Then you've got Brandy Rhodes, who's coming in as Chief Brand Officer. We also got this announced. Billy Gunn will be an agent. Chris Jericho is there. Pac is there, obviously, a.k.a. Neville. We've got Hangman Adam Page, Britt Baker, MJF, and of course the members of the so-called Uncensored, of course Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, Scorpio Sky. So names coming out, obviously a few names there from Ring of Honor, Matt, coming over, waiting for their contract to go down. It's not a bad start, that's for sure, but they're probably going to need a little bit more than that. Mentions and talk about Bill Goldberg, and people were actually emailing me and going, why would they want a 50-year-old guy like Goldberg in your company? But I particularly don't see it as more of a wrestler. I see it as more of an ambassador, a guy who could. The thing is with Goldberg, what he's got about him is he's a known person. Unfortunately for a lot of these guys on the roster, including Cody to a certain extent, they're not really well known to sort of TV stations. But if you've got somebody like Bill Goldberg that can go to a meeting all of a sudden, and sort of he's an established name, they see it a lot differently. So it makes sense if you're going to get Goldberg for his name power, because he's going to be able to do that for you. So they're going to need big names like that who are more familiar to people that aren't into wrestling. But it's a decent start. I think I've got to say, Matt, if it's you look at All In last year, it was a huge success. It looked good. It was presented good. Obviously, Khan himself is a passionate. He says he's a wrestling fan. He's promising that he can pay wrestlers as good as what WWE's best guys are earning. So, obviously financially, Matt, you'd think, they're ahead of the curve here. Maybe TNA didn't have that as much. What do you think of it, Matt? Early impressions?
I think it sounds amazing, really. It's going to change the business. You can't say that statement lightly. And when you hear the Young Bucks and the way that they were coming across, and they said the meetings they had with Khan, and he actually asked them, "Do you guys want to change the business?" But it is a gamble, because you're not just going to get into wrestling because you know it's a solid money maker. He's starting from scratch, really, so it's a gamble. So he must be a fan, and when you have a fan investing in you, you know you've got that support because he wants to see us succeed. And as a fan, how